The 90s is when Zaha Hadid started to build and bring her vision to life. Following the Vitra fire station, she started getting more and more projects. Zaha refers to this time as the years where I didn't sleep for 4 nights in a row or weeks. It was a very exciting time. The Vitra fire station was followed by more work in Europe, including a housing project in Berlin and exhibition spaces in London's Millennium Dome. In these projects, Hadid further explored her interest in creating interconnected spaces and a dynamic sculptural form of architecture. Now, even though she was famous, she was yet to reach the peak of her popularity. But before we can come to the golden years of Zaha, we first need to discuss two projects. The first project we are looking at is the Berghazel ski jump. Now, I'm sure you've heard how old Olympic venues become ruins after the Olympics are held. Well, not the ski jump in Berghazel Mountains. A ski jump on these mountains was first constructed in 1926. Since then, it has been the home to two Winter Olympic competitions. And it wasn't just used during the Olympics. The facility was constantly densely booked. Finally, it was time to upgrade the structure, and in 1999, the Austrian Ski Federation hosted an international design competition for it. And guess who won the competition? Well, since it's a video on Zaha Hadid, it would be a twist if somebody else won it. But no. Zaha Hadid Architects was awarded the first prize in the competition in December of the same year. Hadid's proposal was massive, measuring 90 meters long and towering almost 50 meters over the peak of the mountain. Despite its height, however, the ski jump was designed to blend seamlessly with the mountain. The various program requirements were modeled into a single, minimal mass, with the ski ramp continuing the slope of the mountainside up towards the sky. The new structure was to contain not only a ski jump but also a cafe with 150 seats offering a 360-degree view of the mountains. For this project though, Hadid had to not only fight the traditionalists but also be in a race against time. And that was because the project had to be completed in just 1 year before the next international competition. She, of course, completed it and gave rise to one of the most iconic projects to ever come out of Zaha Hadid Architects. At the end of the 1990s, her career began to gather momentum. In 1997, the Contemporary Arts Center in Cincinnati launched an international competition to create a new building. From an initial 97 submissions, the CAC narrowed their choices down to 12 semi-finalists and eventually down to 3 finalists: Daniel Libeskind, Bernard Schumi, and Zaha Hadid. Each finalist was asked to produce a concept booklet showing not only a physical design but the conceptual approach that they would take. Hadid proposed organizing the museum into a number of independent gallery volumes, all suspended from a warped concrete plane. These functional elements would inform not only the massing of the new museum, but its exterior appearance as well. The proposal was intriguing enough that on March 4, 1998, the CAC formally declared Zaha Hadid Architects victorious. The 85,000 square foot center, which opened in 2003, was essentially a vertical series of cubes and voids. Finally, Zaha Hadid Architects was in full momentum. The construction of these two projects confirmed to her colleagues and clients that Hadid's designs were feasible, notwithstanding their ambition. A year after the completion of the art museum, Hadid was awarded the Pritzker Prize. Now remember, Zaha Hadid till this point only had 4 built projects: the Vitra fire station, the ski lift in Austria, the car park in France, and the Contemporary Arts Center in Cincinnati, US. The president of this foundation, Thomas Pritzker, noted, although her body of work is relatively small, she has achieved great acclaim and her energy and ideas show even greater promise for the future. As the first woman to receive this prize, Hadid began to attract more media attention as well as higher profile clients with greater ambition and more substantial budgets. Now, ever since the year 2000, Zaha Hadid's life has been on an amazing trajectory. All her projects have been iconic and visibly Zaha. But since we'll not be able to cover all of them, we are going to talk about two more projects, her high and her low. As Hadid's career advanced, her projects continued to grow in size and budget, and her use of curves and sinuous shapes became even more ambitious. Now, the first project that we're going to talk about started back in 1998, and it took more than a decade to build. We are talking about the Maxi Museum. In the words of Patrick Schumacher, for us, Maxi started 10 years ago as a theoretical project, as one more competition entry in a series of such entries understood as radical experiment in design research. After its completion, Maxi remains a theoretical project, in the sense of projecting an architectural manifesto demonstrating the capacity of a new architectural style, parametricism. In 1998, the Ministry of Cultural Heritage in Italy wanted to establish the first institution in Italy devoted exclusively to contemporary art and architecture. So they held an international competition, and Zaha Hadid architects were chosen as the winner. 12 years later, in 2010, the Maxi Museum in Rome was open to the world. And mind you, the world came. Maxi is till date one of the most celebrated projects of Zaha Hadid. The main theme of its architecture is the sense of movement. Everything in the structure seems to be moving and flowing. As Zaha Hadid puts it, Maxi supersedes the notion of the museum as object or fixed entity, presenting instead a field of buildings accessible to all, with no firm boundary between what is within and what without. Central to this new reality, its primary force is confluence of lines, walls that constantly intersect and separate to create indoor and outdoor spaces. For this project, Hadid was awarded the Royal Institute of British Architects Sterling Prize for the best building by a British architect completed in the past year. I won't say the completion of this project made Zaha any more famous. She did not need fame at this point. But if you think about it, the project was conceived back in 1998, more than a decade before it was finally open. It was as if Zaha had all this potential ready to burst out. It just took a hell of a lot of patience. Zaha Hadid Architects since the 2000s was in full throttle, and it was projects after projects and awards after awards. But wherever there is fame and success, there is criticism and controversy. But before we talk about the controversy, let's talk about our main project, the Heydar Aliyev Center in Baku, Azerbaijan. Zaha Hadid Architects was appointed as design architects of the Heydar Aliyev Center following a competition in 2007. The center, designed to become the primary building for the nation's cultural programs, breaks from the rigid and often monumental Soviet architecture that is so prevalent in Baku, aspiring instead to express the sensibilities of Azeri culture and the optimism of a nation that looks to the future. The Heydar Aliyev Center is a multifunctional venue that accommodates a 1,000-seat auditorium, temporary exhibition spaces, a conference center, workshops, and a museum. Spanning 8 levels, the array of column-free functional spaces of the center is enclosed by a free-form curvilinear envelope made in glass fiber reinforced concrete and glass fiber reinforced polyester. Hadid wrote that its fluid form emerges from the folds of the natural topography of the landscape and envelopes the different functions of the center. Just like all of her projects, even this center was highly praised and also criticized around the world. But the criticism this time was not just about her work and her philosophy, but something else entirely. Following this project, Zaha Hadid was awarded Britain's one of the most prestigious prizes, the Design Museum's Design of the Year. One judge called the design as pure and sexy as Marilyn's blown skirt. The criticism that came after was mostly for who had commissioned the building. As reported in The Independent, the building was named for the former ruler of Azerbaijan, Heydar Aliyev, and commissioned by his son, Ilham, who became the president after his father's death in 2003. Hugh Williamson, the director of Human Rights Watch for Europe and the Central Asian Division, called Aliyev an authoritarian leader, and so is his son. Even Daniel Libeskind had weighed in, saying that architects have to take responsibility for their work. And this criticism came up only some months after another controversy surrounding the migrant worker deaths and the Qatar FIFA World Cup stadium designed by Zaha Hadid. The reason I picked this project and this incident to talk about was just to highlight that even with her genius of design and form, and with her resources, there are still things in the world that come and hit you out of nowhere. And while you're on your path being patient, just know that you also have to be resilient. But between these highs and lows, what was constant was Zaha Hadid's iconic designs. All throughout the 2000s, Zaha kept dazzling the world. That was until March 31st, 2016. On 31st March 2016, Zaha Hadid was being treated for bronchitis at the Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, where she died of a heart attack. I remember when I heard the news. I was in my third year of college. I did not know as much about Zaha Hadid at the time, but everywhere I looked, there were discussions about her life, her designs, and her legacy. Whether you liked her style or not, Zaha Hadid clearly left her mark on this world, and not only shattered, but destroyed glass ceilings all around her. The statement issued by her London-based design studio announcing her death read, "Zaha Hadid was widely regarded to be the greatest female architect in the world today. I think it's time to talk about it." Zaha being a female architect. In an interview published in Icon magazine, she said, "I never use the issue about being a woman architect, but if it helps younger people to know they can break through the glass ceiling, I don't mind that." However, she admitted that she never really felt a part of the male-dominant architecture, quote-unquote, establishment. She once said, "As a woman in architecture, you're always an outsider. It's okay. I like being on the edge." So no doubt that being a woman brought in its own set of challenges, but Zaha kept pushing forward, inspiring not only women around the world with her success and determination, but showed a whole generation of young architects, men, women, or anything you identify as, that you can truly dream big. And if you have the commitment, the patience, and the discipline, you can truly make it. In the end, I would just like to end with one of Zaha Hadid's quote, which says, "You have to really believe not only in yourself, you have to believe that the world is actually worth your sacrifices." And that was it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that video on Zaha Hadid's life, because I really enjoyed research. There were a lot of things I did not know about her. And after researching, I got to know a lot of things. So hopefully that happened to you as well. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, let me know in the comments below. And also do remember, Blessedarch is on Patreon. You can help support this channel by becoming a patron. The link will be in the description below. As always, do not forget to like, to share, and to subscribe to Blessedarch. I will see you guys soon with more such videos.